Yeah. Visible one.
Great. Let's wait for a minute more and then we'll start. I still don't see much quorum here. But again, as we have been doing, we will not wait and we'll start with the next topic. I had shared the details that what we are going to cover today, what we are going to cover tomorrow, and what we are going to cover in upcoming weeks. Right? We are almost at the end. Almost. We are not at the end now, but almost at the end. We have covered enough. Right? So I request you guys, I urge you guys to start revising the old topics which we have done. Okay, so here we are going to do this week Key Vault, Managed Identity, but in this order. First, I'll talk about managed identity because once you understand the managed identity, then you will understand Key Vault, but in a better manner. Though these are not interlinked, these two are different services. This is under Azure Entra ID, Microsoft Entra ID. Key Vault is an independent service, but still there is some correlation which we are going to see today. And then we are going to talk about backup vault for storage and then a recovery service vault. This is I'm planning to complete today and tomorrow. Next week, we'll talk about some PaaS services like function app, web app, service app, etc. Right? Then Azure policy and monitoring. Once we are done with this, we are good enough to go ahead with migration. Migration itself will take the whole session, two sessions, Saturday and Sunday. And post that, we'll start with a resume and profile building, and then we can start with interviews. Okay. So talking about managed identity, it is a part of Azure Active Directory, Microsoft Entra ID, which is known as, right? Here it is. So before we start, guys, do you have any doubts, any questions on any topic to which we have covered, on which we have covered till now? Yes,
As
guys.
of
Any
now,
doubt?
no, bhai.
What
As
about
of now,
others?
no.
Sorry,
Honestly speaking, I'm not getting much time to practice or look at the old videos, but I'm trying my level best.
Mhm.
I'll need some more time, to go through that videos, and then I'll come up with questions, if any, and I'll ping you.
Sure. But guys, understand
Yeah.
one thing. This I have been telling to every batch of mine that I'm always here to help you, right? But understand there is a thing called momentum. Till the time we are in this batch, you will have that momentum. Till the time we are meeting every weekend over Zoom call, we have that momentum. If you have this in your mind that, okay, I'm not going to practice now, I'll take 2, 3 weeks gap or maybe 1 month's gap and then I'll start reading. Two things will happen. One, it's you will have too much to read and you will lose that touch because now we are not meeting every day, right? So you are going to lose that touch. That is one thing. Second thing, now when you start hunting for the job, here what happens, let's say we have 12 people. So one of them, if they get the interview call, they will share that, okay, here they are hiring, maybe 2 or 3 more can apply over there, and this is how it works. So what I have observed and what I have seen here, it's whenever you go with the flow of the batch, right, it's easier to get a job. In my previous batch also I have seen people who did not even have understanding, even they were able to clear the interview. They did not practice much, but why and how? Because they were going with the flow. Let's say person A gets the interview call, person A will give the interview and then share the interview details. So now what do we have? We have our freshly done sessions. We have all interview questions. We have one first hand experience that this is what they asked in the interview. We have reference. So this is how it goes. On the other hand, as I said, if you plan that you're going to do this after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, most of the persons from your batch, even if 5, 6 are they are gone, they have already taken the job, then it becomes difficult. Then there will be no momentum. Then there will be no one to help you कि यार यहाँ interview चल रहा वहां पर interview चल रहा ये question पूछा था वो question पूछा था, right? That is not going to happen. And then cracking it by your own individually, it becomes difficult. It becomes tougher than what you do with a group. So please make sure that you keep that in your mind and then accordingly start preparing. And if you take a lot of time thinking that okay I'll do that later, वो later कभी नहीं आता है. right? The rest is up to you. And yes, even when it comes to helping you guys, right, I am here to help, but understand, even I have a limitation, right? I run this batch for 6 months. 6 months I am dedicatedly available for you, but after this I may take a break of month or so. Then my availability will not be in the same manner like how I am available now, completely for 2 hours. In between also, if you ask something, right, I'm available. But after this, I may take a break. I may go for some my own courses. I may start another batch of Azure. I may start another batch of DevOps. I may start another batch of architect, right? It could happen. So I will not be able to give you this dedication, what I'm able to give you now. Till the time we are going through with the batch, that is the best time to get a job. That is what I wanted to say. Right. So please plan your study accordingly. Okay. So I think we have enough people now. Let's start. So we are talking about Azure Managed Identity. Now, what is it? Managed identity provide an identity for applications to use when connecting to resources that support Azure Active Directory, which is nowadays Microsoft Entra ID. Let me write that down. Right? Which supports Microsoft Entra ID authentication. Applications may use the managed identity to obtain AD tokens. What is it? We'll talk about it. For example, an application may use a managed identity to access resources like Azure Key Vault, where developers can store their credential in secure manner to access storage accounts. I understand this is a bit confusing, right? But this is the official definition. If you can remember it and say this in the interview, well and good. If you can't, it's okay. We are going to learn this in detailed manner. I will bifurcate it, trifurcate it in proper manner. Then you can come up with an answer in your own words. But this is what the official definition is. If you can remember it, it's good for you. If not, then that's it. That's also okay, right? There are two types of managed identity. One is system assigned and one is user assigned, right? Before we go ahead and check what exactly system assigned and user assigned, let me explain it to you uh, in a layman term, and then we'll go ahead and again check the definitions, right? So for example, we have one storage account, right? This is a storage account. Why do we use a storage account, guys? What are the uses? First thing, what are the services do I get in storage account? Who can tell me? Even if you tell one service, it's okay. What are the services we get in storage account? Yes, guys. What are the services? I'm sure you know the answer. Maybe you just don't know the term, but I am specifically asking with the term. Yes. What are the services do we get in storage account?
Services means, are you talking about redundancy?
No.
No, services.
Hmm. I'm sure you all of you know the answer. I'm specifically purposely using the term because your interviewer is going to use the term. And I'm sure you know the answers, all of you. Let me write down the first service and I'm sure you guys will know the rest of them. Yes. Can someone tell me the next service?
Okay.
Container.
Second one is for container tables,
Then
and one is blob.
isn't it a part of container?
Is it? It is a part of the container.
Then how is it a service?
Table file share,
Yes.
table file share, and the fourth one is that flow type something.
Yes,
Outlook
guys. Anyone
was the
else?
example of that.
See, this is what happens, guys. When you don't practice, if you would have practiced much in storage account, वो सामने सामने ही दिखते हैं आपको चारों services. There is no way you will forget it. If you
Quiz,
have your
queues.
hands on queue, right? So these are the services which we get in a storage account, right? Now, when it comes to file share, we can attach using the network share option where we give a script to user and they're using it. Okay. Container we have seen using storage explorer. We can use using direct URLs. We can use blobs, right? And table and queue we have already seen. And I told you tables and queue, these are mostly used with some websites by programmers. Similarly, container also we have seen access keys, right? Access keys we use to connect to the storage account using Azure Storage Explorer. But that is not the only method. That is not the only way. I told you we also use it in coding, in scripting, these access keys, right? To access your storage account. Is this clear, guys? Still here?
Yes.
So when I say that an application is using, a code is using, what do you understand? When you see a code is using your storage account, is some third person or some human resource is using your code? Do you think a person will go ahead and type that code and use this? Or how, what do you mean by code? Where do we use the code? If I say कि यार कोड में मुझको ये इसको इंटीग्रेट करना है इस एक्सेस की को या शेयर्ड एक्सेस सिग्नेचर को, सो व्हाट डू यू अंडरस्टैंड वो कोड कहाँ पर यूज होने वाला है या वो उस कोड से क्या बनने वाला है? अल्टीमेटली व्हाट डू यू क्रिएट यूजिंग अ कोड?
कनेक्टिविटी।
कनेक्टिविटी इज हैपनिंग, इट्स ओके, कनेक्टिविटी इज हैपनिंग वाया कोड। ठीक है, कनेक्टिविटी तो हो रहा है, ये तो कनेक्टिविटी हो रहा है। कैसे हो रहा है? आपने कोड लिखा है। कोड किस चीज के लिए लिखते हो आप लोग? व्हाट इज द आउटकम ऑफ द कोड?
सॉफ्टवेयर एप्लीकेशन।
Application,
Oh,
yes, that is the word I was looking for. Application. You call it software, you call it application, completely fine. So there are two people or there are two sources which can use your storage account, right? One is end user, you, me, any person. We can use URL, we can use access key, Azure Storage Explorer, right? Second method is your application. Now, why would an application use your storage? What could be the reason? Why would an application use your storage?
always to be
स्टोर डेटा, एक्सेस डेटा।
Yes, exactly. It could
data
be anything. It could,
and up and running. Yeah.
yes, it could be uh, to save some data, to retrieve some data, to delete some data. Using this application, you're saving something, you're uploading a picture. I have a very simple application. People simply click some uh, nature pictures and they upload it. Simple. इतना basic application है मेरा। क्या दो चीजें लगेगी मुझको इसमें? One is the front end of the application where people can download my application जिससे वो click कर सके. And second, to store that, I need something. It could be a database or it could be a storage account also. Is it clear till here?
Yes.
Right. So now your storage account is being used by your application. It's not by end user. यहाँ पर जो end user login करता है इस application पे using a user ID and password. For example, let's again take the Face App application, right? So if I log into the Face App application or Instagram or anything, that user ID and password, it is just to access the application. That user ID and password has nothing to do with my storage account. And I'm not giving access to my storage account. And this end user, this user is not even directly accessing my storage account. Why should I give the access? Who is accessing my storage account?
एप्लीकेशन।
Application. So now at this moment, इस storage account पे किसको access चाहिए? Application को, right?
Application.
Now application, do they have a user ID like we have? Can I simply go to Azure Active Directory or enter ID and create one user? Let's go to enter ID. Click on users, right? Create a new user. Can I create a user for one application? Is it possible? If I create
No.
this, it will give me user ID and password. It's for an end user. It's for human purpose. कोई बंदा इसको manually login करेगा, right? But what I want that my virtual machine should have one user or my application should have one user. Now at this end, it could be anything. It could be virtual machine, it could be application, it could be anything. Right? So I want my virtual machine to have one user ID. I want my application to have one user ID. That is what your identity, Azure Managed Identities, right? So what it does, it assigns an identity to, look at this. Is it readable enough, guys? So if I want this virtual machine to have access directly on this SQL, ignore the key vault as of now. Okay. If I wanted this virtual machine directly to access my SQL database due to some reason, again, add data, delete data, remove data, amend data, do whatever it wants, right? So what I would require an identity for this virtual machine, and then I would go to SQL and assign the access to that identity. Is this clear, guys? What is a managed identity? It is an identity which you provide to your source resource to access your target resource. Yes, any doubts?
Identity means in the form of what? In the form of keys or link or something else?
We'll see that how we create it, but is the concept clear? What is
Yeah.
managed identity? It's exactly like yours, but the thing is that you get username, which is there in alphabets.
Yeah.
System doesn't
Hmm.
require an alphabet. It will be some number, some random number, some hexadecimal numbers. It could be anything, but ultimately it is a user. But no one
Okay.
will be able to log in using that user. पोर्टल पे लॉगिन नहीं कर पाएगा कोई उससे, right? It won't have a password.
Okay.
Is this clear, guys? Hanif, Sonali, Sunil, is it
Yes.
clear?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. Now, there are two types of identity, managed identity. One is system assigned and one is user assigned, right? What is system assigned? Some Azure services allow you to enable managed identity directly on the service instance. When you enable system assigned managed identity, it gets created in Azure Active Directory, and that is tied up of the life cycle of that service instance. Let me explain it to you. What does it say? That some of the instances or some of the services, they allow you to create a managed identity, right? They allow you to create managed identity, and when you enable the system assigned managed identity, it gets created in Azure Active Directory. You do it manually or you do it using system assigned. Ultimately, it gets created in Azure AD. It gets created in Azure AD, and now it is tied to the life cycle of that service. What does it mean? It says some of the Azure services, which means not all of them, some of them. Virtual machine is one of them. So what is it saying? For example, if my requirement is this virtual machine should have access to this SQL, and let's imagine this virtual machine is here. Let's say this is the virtual machine, VM1. So I'll go to VM1. My ultimate aim is to assign an ID so I can give access to the SQL server. Here, I will come to identity, which is under security. Click on identity. And here it is. This one already has, normally you will see like this. Normally you will see it like this. Let me save it. And if you create a machine, a default page which you're going to see, it's like this. Let it finish and we'll refresh it once and I'll show it to you. Because I guess my other machine also has it. So we'll have to turn off the identity for one of them. Here it is. This is how you will see. You come to a virtual machine, you come to identity, this is how you will see. Now look at this, system assigned, user assigned. So let's first check what is system assigned. System assigned, click on, click on save, click yes. What is it doing now? Look at this. It is creating a user ID for this virtual machine. It is creating a user ID for this virtual machine. So now once I have this user ID, I can use this user ID and assign access, whatever access I want. See, if I want some AD level access, that I can assign here as well, right? If I want to take this is the user ID. Look at this. This is a user ID. It's an hexadecimal number. You just copy it. You go to whatever services you're talking about. Let's say we were talking about storage account. This is the storage account. You go to IAM. What kind of access your application will require? That obviously that's a different study. Your architect team, your application team, they will do it. You will ultimately know. ठीक है कि इस application को आपको XYZ role देना है. Yeah, there are n number of roles. Don't just restrict yourself with these roles, right? I deal with these roles because we have to give complete access. However, you can go ahead and check all these roles. So for example, as of now, I'm saying owner access देना है मुझको. So click on owner, click next. When it comes to search here, right? You can do it here as well or search here and search for the member. Can you see? Normally, what do we find here? We find users. right? We find users. But now if I type this ID, can you see? This ID is belong to virtual machine 1. So now I'm assigning virtual machine 1 complete access on my storage account. Is this clear, guys?
Yes. So the person who is going to log into that virtual machine is also able to
No,
access.
no.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with manual. Just because you have access on that virtual machine, right?
Mm.
Using that virtual machine, you will not be able to do anything if your ID doesn't have access. This ID
Okay.
is specifically for your machine. Only your machine can use it. In what manner? In programmatic manner. You cannot do anything. You to log in, you as an end user, if you log into that machine using your domain ID and password, just because you're logged into this machine, this rights will not be inherited to your ID.
Okay.
You just have to do this much. Later, how that machine connects to that storage account, that is application developers headache. What kind of code they are writing, how are they writing this code के ये machine पे कोई अगर इस application पे कोई run करता है तो ये machine खुद से जाके database से data fetch करेगा या save करेगा. This all happens programmatically manner. You as an individual cannot do that.
Okay.
Just because you're logged into that machine using RDP, it will not allow you to do anything. Unless you have your own access, that's a different thing. Got it, guys? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you log into that machine, it will not give you any accesses. And even that machine, it doesn't have any password. You cannot, even if you get hold of this user ID, you don't have any password. It is all going to happen in programmatic manner. Is this clear, guys, to everyone? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Right. So now what we created, it's a system managed identity. What does it mean? Which it means that I came here to this virtual machine. First, let's read the definition. So this was the first definition. Second is created as a part of an Azure resource. Example, Azure virtual machine, Azure app service. This can be created after this resource is created and lifecycle ends as soon as the parent resource is deleted. What does it mean? कि it's not necessary कि मैं उसको पहले ही बना, it's not possible कि मैं इसको virtual machine पहले बनने से पहले बना दूं. It's not possible for me. System assigned identity can be created only once the actual resource is created. Now, the virtual machine which is not there, can you create a system assigned identity for that?
No.
No, you cannot.
No.
Right? In system assigned identity, what is it saying? That इसका life cycle उतना ही होता है जितना आपके actual resource का हो. So if I delete the virtual machine, will that ID be still there?
No.
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 With the parent resource, it gets deleted. Next line, what does it say? It cannot be shared. It can only be associated with a single Azure resource. So this ID which I have created, I cannot give this ID to some other virtual machine also. क्या ठीक है आप इस ID पे आप भी access कर लो. No, that is not happening. So you can create it on that resource itself. It gets deleted with that resource and you cannot share it. Is this clear for system assigned identity?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Next thing, it's your user assigned identity. You may also create a managed standalone Azure resource, an identity as a standalone Azure resource. You can create a user assigned managed identity and assign it to one or more instances. You can create it as a standalone and it has an independent life cycle. It must be explicitly deleted. एक और मेथड है इसको बनाने का which is your user assigned identity. आप वो बनाते हो तो it has no dependency कि आपकी virtual machine है या नहीं है. That's okay. You can create it before even creating your virtual machine, right? It doesn't get deleted when your virtual machine is deleted. आपको इसको separately जाकर जैसे बनाया था वैसे delete करना होगा, right? It can be shared. The last point says it can be shared. The same user assigned managed identity can be associated with more than one Azure resources. If I go back to same example here, now how many applications do you see? 5 applications, right? It could be more. Let's say 5 applications, 10 virtual machines, XYZ. In total, 20 resources are there. जिनको मेरे स्टोरेज अकाउंट को एक्सेस करना है. So do you think it's a good idea that I go on every those 20 resources on all of them and then go ahead and create each system assigned identity? No. The next option is you go ahead and create a user assigned identity. So let me create one for you. You can create it from here, right? This is one place. You come to any virtual machine or any service which supports this. You can create it from here, or you can create it from your Active Directory as well. But let me say, where is it? Somewhere here it is. I'll look for that option. But the simplest option is you come here and you create your user assigned identity. Or let's see if we can search it here. Here it is. You go to managed identities, create one. Now, what am I doing? I'm creating a user assigned, right? I'm not going to any specific resource. I am simply just selecting my uh, resource group, my region, etc. and new user assigned identity. Okay. Click next. Click. Tags, etc. we have already seen. Okay. Once it is done, now what I can do, again, I can go to my storage and assign the relevant accesses. जो भी जिस भी तरह का access मुझको देना है, I can assign those accesses to this ID. Is this clear, guys? Still here?
Yes.
Right. Now only one thing which is pending, how to assign this with your actual resource. अब मैंने एक independent resource manage identity तो बना ली, right? मैंने उसको access भी दे दिया. Everything is good, sorted. This is created and this user has got enough resources, whatever, or enough privileges, whatever I wanted. Now the only thing is pending, how do I give these 10 machines access to up? Simply you'll go to this machine identity. It is under security. And if you have already system assigned, it's okay. If you don't have, come here and look at this. I have already added one. If you want to give one more, here it is. And you add. And this ID you can add to multiple machines. The system assigned, this lives with this virtual machine and dies with this virtual machine. You can create only on this virtual machine, that too when the ID is completed, once the machine is created. However, this ID I have created now. Now if I have a future machine, उस पे भी मैं इसको add कर पाऊंगा. Let's say if I go to some other machine and go to identity, look at this. Here if I turn it on, I cannot share the previous ID. But if I go here, I'll be able to add those two IDs. Look at this. If I want to add both of these, it's okay. If I want to add one of these, that is also fine. Got it, guys? What is your system assigned and user assigned identities?
Yes.
Now look at this. Here we have a picture that which can be, what can be managed using managed identity. So source can be Azure VM, Azure App Service, Azure Function, Azure Container. It's not only from machine to container. Look at this. Even container can have an identity management, user identity management, and we can have a system assigned ID or user assigned ID on a container, and that container can also access some other resource. ये भी हो सकता है कि आपके कंटेनर को किसी और रिसोर्स को एक्सेस करना है. That is also possible. Instances, Kubernetes, logic app, storage. All these services can be sources. Targets can be your Azure Key Vault, Azure Storage Account, Azure SQL. Is this clear, guys, to everyone? Yes, no, maybe any doubts, any questions?
ये वाला अभी का जो पॉइंट था ना वो सोहेल भाई, हाँ,
Hmm.
ये आई कैन मैनेज आइडेंटिटीज, ये थोड़ा सा ये हो गया कि सोर्स और टारगेट. तो हम लोग अज्योर की करके जो एक टारगेट है उसको
Azure Key
एक्सेस कर
Wallet, we
सकते
haven't
हैं.
we haven't discussed
हम्म.
it, so don't worry. अभी की
हम्म.
वॉल्ट अभी तक हमने पढ़ा ही नहीं है, सो हाउ वुड यू अंडरस्टैंड? एसक्यूएल समझ में आ गया ना यहाँ पर? This can be your store.
एसक्यूएल को
Similarly,
ये
अब वो
सब
की वॉल्ट पे,
सोर्सेस है।
see even if you don't understand कि की वॉल्ट पे उसको कैसे यूज होगा, you don't have to worry. That is your developer's
हम्म
headache.
हम्म
Right, though we are going to see
हम्म
next topic हमारा key vault ही है, but even if you don't understand something, it's okay. As an administrator, your job will be to create an identity for a resource. If they are saying that we want कि ये Azure function app से हमको SQL use करना है, so create one identity for this Azure function app. You simply have to create one identity and give it to them. Now on Azure SQL, how they are giving accesses, it's up to them.
तो एक मैनेज आइडेंटिटी जो है
Hmm.
ये सब पे हम लोग लगा सकते हैं, मतलब जितने भी सोर्सेस है ये सब
If
एक्सेस
that
करने के
is a
लिए वही
use
लगेगा।
if that is a user assigned identity.
या
If it is a system assigned,
अच्छा
then no. System assigned है तो वो उसी एक सिस्टम पे बनेगा। Yes, but you can access that to multiple. यहाँ पर अगर आप उसी आइडेंटिटी को Azure कीवर्ड पे देना चाहते हो, उसी आइडेंटिटी को स्टोरेज पे देना चाहते हो, उसी आइडेंटिटी से SQL को देना चाहते हो, yes, you can do that.
ओके अंडरस्टूड।
बट वही एक आइडेंटिटी जो एक Azure VM पे लग गई है, you cannot give it to some other app service, you cannot give it to some other VM, you cannot do that if it is a system assigned identity. बट इफ इट इज
हम्म।
यूजर असाइंड आइडेंटिटी, ये आप एक वीएम को दे सकते हो, ये मल्टीपल वीएम्स को दे सकते हो, एक वीएम, एक फंक्शन ऐप, एक कंटेनर, सबको दे सकते हो आप। इट
ठीक
इज
है।
नथिंग बट अ यूजर आईडी फॉर अ रिसोर्स।
ओके अंडरस्टूड।
यस गाइस, एनी डाउट्स, एनी क्वेश्चंस?
No.
Okay, we have only 5 minutes left in this one, so let's not start key vault, right? Managed identity we have completed now. Private endpoints, I'm sure you guys are aware of, right? But today I had mentioned that I will be covering the private endpoints, but we have already done that. So I'm skipping on that. So we have covered Azure Managed Identity. In next session, we are going to cover Key Vault. So if you guys don't have any questions, we can stop the session. We have 4 minutes left. Still, if you have any questions, please do let me know. Any doubts, any questions, guys?
नहीं, इसमें तो नहीं है फ्रॉम माय साइड।
Anyone else?
No.
Okay, great. Then let's stop the session and we'll join immediately without any break using the same link. And we'll start with Key Vault.